I don't want us to see each other for a couple of weeks. I want to be with you, but not the way things are right now. She would have accomplished more this way than with the blaming. Blaming never really solves the problem you have. Limits often do, and thus eliminate the need for blaming in the first place. Forgive. Another reason people continually blame is that they have difficulty forgiving their date. Forgiveness is canceling a debt that someone owes. We all need forgiveness at times, and we all owe it to each other. Many times, we don't forgive because we feel it's unfair, or we think they're getting away with something. That's why we have a savior, because the alternative is worse. The problem of being unable to forgive is a real one. To resolve it, it's important to remember that we have a savior who has forgiven us at the deepest level, and who requires us to let go of the demand for revenge or perfect justice, Matthew 6:12-15, just as he did for us. Let go of the offense and the need for revenge or perfect justice. Set limits on what can change, forgive what will not, and evaluate if the relationship is one you want based on those two aspects. Grieve. While forgiveness is objective in nature, grief is its emotional component. When we cancel a debt, we're letting go of the right to demand revenge. That letting go brings loss and a feeling of sadness. That's the essence of grief. Blamers are angry, but it's the kind of anger that solves no problems. Anger must ultimately give way to grief and sadness. This means you're saying, I lost, because that's the truth. You may have lost a battle for her to change, or to see things your way, or to understand just how much she hurt you. Stop fighting the battles that are not worth winning, or not possible to win. That's what God does every day. He lets go and feels sad about how we choose to conduct our lives. Matthew 23:37. These steps involve some work, but they will effectively set limits on the negative power of blame in your relationship. Takeaway tips. Learn to humbly listen to correction and restrain the urge to react in blame. Use blame as a signal to see if you're afraid, feel judged, or are sad about a fault. Take a strong stance of being more concerned about your own soul state than that of your date's. Accept what is negative about your date and work with the realities instead of staying locked in protest, argument, and blame. Ask those you trust to let you know when you play the blame game. Be a forgiver and make mutual forgiveness a part of the culture of your dating relationship. Part 4. Solving Dating Problems, when your date is the problem. Chapter 15. Say No to Disrespect. Cindy had been divorced for 2 years, and finally felt ready to re-enter the dating world. She met Craig, and the two hit it off. He was smart and attentive. One thing Cindy was very drawn to in Craig was that he was able to relate to her as a woman. Her first husband had been sort of a man's man, and she had felt worlds apart from him. But Craig was at ease with her, and could talk about emotions and the deeper issues of life as one who understood. Not only that, but he didn't mind being with Cindy's girlfriends either. There was none of that chauvinistic distance that some men possess. He did have a problem, though. She noticed it the first time when they were out on a date at a nice downtown restaurant. She was flattered by the atmosphere and felt even more drawn to Craig's attentiveness as they were being seated at their table. Then the cocktail waitress, a striking blonde, appeared and asked if they wanted drinks or appetizers. Craig's face took on a seductive look, and he said, "No thanks, unless you're on the menu." The waitress smiled awkwardly and left. Cindy was shocked and hurt. "You really humiliated me with that comment," she told Craig. He held up his hands and said, "What are you talking about? I was just making a joke. Stop overreacting." Confused, Cindy backed down and tried to adjust her attitude. They spent the rest of the evening together pleasantly. Cindy put the event out of her mind until Craig said something strange to one of her girlfriends at a party a couple of weeks later. Liz had been complaining to the couple about her ex-boyfriend. Craig said, "The guy must be nuts to be treating you that way. If I had someone with your looks and brains, I'd be thanking my lucky stars." Again, when Cindy confronted Craig on it, he said, "Can't you let me be myself? I'm just keeping things light." The rest of the relationship seemed to go so well that Cindy didn't want to jeopardize a lot for a little. But her antennae were out now, and she began taking note of how often Craig flirted with girls with her by his side. The more involved they became, the more it seemed to happen. When Cindy mentioned the flirting to a friend, the friend told her, "Look at it this way. Maybe it's the only way he can make conversation with a woman. Besides, at least he's doing it in front of you. That must mean he feels committed to you, to not be hiding it." There was enough sense in what her friend said to keep Cindy doubting her feelings. Yet she couldn't make herself simply let it go. The worst part of it all was Craig's disregard for her discomfort with his flirting. He didn't seem to care or understand